One of the most favorable layups in UFC title fight history goes down this weekend in Salt Lake City, Utah for UFC 307, and that is Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree Jr. It is time for me to give my full card breakdown and predictions for every single fight on the card. I will put the time codes down below, so if there's specific fights you want to hear me discuss, there you go. But man, from top to bottom, I think that this is a decent card, right? I know that this is getting a lot of heat because we have a lot of WMMA fights on the main card. We got some matchups that don't particularly make a lot of sense to a lot of people in the community. But I think that this is a decent card, right? And I think that this is quite a bit better than our Sphere card, right? I know a lot of people looked at the Sphere as being a little bit mid, right? A little underwhelming. But I think that this card overall is going to be a pretty solid card. The only thing that sucks, man, is whenever they go to Utah, we see fighters gassed. We see the elevation become a big factor. So I'll be curious to see how that affects some of the fighters come fight night. But top to bottom, I think that this is a decent card. Let's waste no time. Hop right into this, starting with the very first fight of the evening. We're heading to the nursing home. We're heading to the retirement home for this fight, and that is between the Dirty Bird, Tim Means, and Court McGee. Are we in a time capsule? These two dudes are basically 40 years of age. I feel like they've been in the UFC for forever. Since I was in diapers, man, these dudes were scrapping in the UFC. But overall, man, I think that this is actually going to be a fun scrap. I think that someone's going to get KO'd, and I think Tim Means is going to be the one doing the KOing. I think that he is able to KO Court McGee and get him out of there in this matchup. Look, I know people are going to be upset. They're like, look, we got two old heads in there. Who cares? Whatever. First of all, it's the first fight of the evening. Second, Good job on the UFC's end. Give two dudes who are way past their prime, who are definitely at the tail end of their career, put them in there against each other. Don't give them these up-and-coming prospects. Don't feed them to an up-and-coming phenom. Give them to each other. And what this matchup really comes down to for me is, look, both of them are more or less journeymen. But I think Tim Means, it comes down to he is the cleaner striker. I think I trust Tim Means more than I trust Court McGee, because from what we've seen from Court over his past few fights and really throughout his career, is I think that he's maybe a little bit better than what his record shows, right? He's 21-13. I think he's maybe a little bit better than that. But over his past few fights, man, I mean, we've just seen he's basically been a moving heavy bag out there. He's very easy to hit. His defense isn't good. He loads up on a lot of shots. And I just see Tim Means being a little too wiry, a little too quick, and just a little bit more technical and precise with the striking. I think someone gets KO'd, and I think Tim Means retires Court McGee in this fight. And I wouldn't be shocked if Tim Means retires after this matchup as well, because whenever we see the UFC do this, they take two old heads, they put them against each other. They never usually just do that out of the goodness of their heart. Unfortunately, sometimes there's maybe a little bit of something that goes with that. I think both of these dudes hopefully will hang it up after this matchup, but I think Tim Means gets the job done here. Moving on, we have Ovince St. Preux, OSP, taking on Ryan Spann. Now, this fight was supposed to happen, I think, a couple months back at a fight night, and they had to reschedule this one. You talk about a fucking weird-ass fight, that's this one. I mean, when I look at this, and I was looking at the card when they had this completely built out, I'm like, I don't know what the hell to think in this fight. You got two of the most inconsistent guys in the light heavyweight division, but not only that, in the entire UFC. When OSP, I almost called him USP, maybe because he's a mail service, man. He's inconsistent, like the mail service. Like, I really don't know what to expect with OSP. The dude's getting up there in age. He goes in there, he's just kind of the same guy. He's slow, methodical, and just he's just there. And what we see is we just don't know what to expect. And I think OSP, he doesn't bring anything that spectacular to the table other than, the Von Flue choke, which, yes, that's great. But that's not exactly something that is very easy to pull off, right? You got to get in position for that. So if we're looking at that, I think Ryan Spann should win this fight. I am going to go with Ryan Spann, and he's another one. I can't trust Ryan Spann for shit. I feel like none of us can. But what this comes down to for me, Ryan Spann's got, a little more youthful. He's a guy that we have seen. He was in there with Dominic Reyes. He landed a nasty shot and was able to KO him. Spann's got good power. He's got good speed. His issue has been fight IQ and not showing up. If Ryan Spann can show up and he's dialed in and he has a game plan coming into this of how to deal with OSP, I think that he should be able to get OSP out of there. I don't know if he's able to flush KO him, but I can see him landing a really good shot, hurting him up against the fence, start to tee off, and then the ref has to come in and wave it off. I think just this is this to me is a toss-up, and it really should be a win for Ryan Spann. But just given what we have seen from him in the UFC this far, very hard to trust him. But I think Ryan Spann is going to be able to get that one done. Moving on. Carlos Esparza versus Tisha Pennington. Talk about a boring fight. This fight's going to be boring. If you're looking for a bathroom break, this might be the fight, man. Look, Carlos Esparza, we've seen, she was a champion. She's got good wrestling. Her striking is very subpar, but she finds ways to win. And I think that Tisha Pennington kind of plays right into what Carlos Esparza it does well, right? I think Tisha Pennington, she's decent on the feet. She's, she's kind of scrappy. But in terms of the grappling, I just find it hard to believe that she's going to be able to stop the takedowns from Carla. I think in the first round, maybe Tisha's able to have some success with the striking. Maybe she's able to fend off a few takedowns. But as the fight plays out, I think Carla's able to get a hold of her. I think she's able to continuously apply that grappling pressure, drag her up against the fence, drag her back down, and just kind of wear on Tisha Pennington to win a unanimous decision here. And this is a rematch, right? We saw this fight take place like eons ago, and it wasn't that exciting then. I don't think it's going to be that exciting now. I think that this is Carla Esparza's retirement fight. Tisha Pennington, a little over the hill as well. But to me, I trust Carla Esparza a little bit more considering she's been a champion. She has the grappling. She understands how to win fights. I think Carla Esparza gets this one done. Moving on. We have the Great Ape, Hernandez, and Austin Hubbard. I'm going to go Austin Hubbard in this matchup. And I think with Hernandez, when we're talking about him, this just comes down to ever since that nasty combo. If you've never seen that combination that Cowboy Cerrone landed on this man, it was one of the most, it was literally like Cowboy Cerrone was hitting Thai pads in there. I mean, he threw a right hand to the body, a headshot upstairs, kick to the leg, kick up high. Like, it was almost scripted, the way that combination landed. And ever since that fight, we have not seen the same guy in Hernandez, man. And I think that Austin Hubbard, he's not a world beater, right? I don't think Austin Hubbard is spectacular, but what we've seen from him, even back on The Ultimate Fighter, he's pretty well-rounded. He's decent on the feet. He doesn't take crazy amounts of risk, putting himself in danger. I think he's well-rounded enough to beat Hernandez wherever the fight goes. And the other thing with the Great Ape, I can't trust the guy. I can't trust him, and I think that he suffers with the fight IQ. I think he gasses. He's very, very hard to predict what kind of guy we're going to see come fight night. I trust Austin Hubbard a little bit more. That's why I'm picking him to win this fight. Moving on. Ihor Almeida versus Cesar Almeida. This is an interesting fight. This is an interesting fight because a lot of people are kind of writing off Ihor Almeida, and I kind of am a little bit. Look, I think Ihor is a guy that there were kind of high hopes for him, and we've kind of seen this right? And but he's still a solid fighter. He's not a scrub, right? But coming into this seems to me like the UFC is trying to get Cesar Almeida back on track. Look, he's a former Glory kickboxer. He's got history with Poatan Pineda. He is a very, very dangerous guy on the feet. But what we saw in his last outing with Roman Kapilov is he has an issue with the wrestling. Flat out. If I'm Ihor Almeida coming into this fight, I'm just looking to wrestle heavy. I'm just looking to grapple the hell out of Cesar Almeida because he can't defend takedowns. He just cannot defend a takedown. So if Ihor is able to come into this with a wrestle heavy game plan and take down Cesar Almeida, and hold him, I can see Ihor, going to, getting a victory, but I don't think it happens. I don't think Ihor's grappling is good enough to be able to do that, but that's how little I think of Cesar's takedown defense is the fact that I think Ihor could go in there and dominate him in the grappling. It's possible, right? I do think that it's possible, but I think Cesar is going to keep this on the feet. I think he's going to land the cleaner shots, and I think that he's ultimately going to be able to KO Ihor. I think the UFC's trying to give Cesar a win here. He's a fun fighter. He's up there in age. He made the transition to MMA very late in his career here. He's an exciting fighter. He's always going to come to throw down in terms of the striking. That's what the UFC wants. That's what a lot of fans want to see. I think Cesar Almeida gets a KO over Ihor in this matchup. Moving on. We have Marina Rodriguez and Lucindo. Now, this is an interesting fight because I think with Marina Rodriguez, She's a very technical striker. She's good on the feet. She's lanky. She's rangy. She understands how to use her tools on the feet. But with Lucindo, she's aggressive. She's got good power. She's got good striking. She even has some submissions in her back pocket. But I think the grappling is going to negate itself a little bit because I do think Rodriguez, she has good submissions of her own. She does have decent grappling. And what we saw in that last outing with Marina, she was better than Andrade, I thought. I thought that she was the cleaner fighter, but what it comes down to is Marina tends to get bullied around in there at times, and she gets backed up against the fence. She lets you move forward and launch these big looping shots that kind of land. Sometimes she rolls with them, and it just looks great to the judge, right? Andrade is constantly bobbing and moving forward and throwing these big looping shots. That looks great to the judges. Whereas Marina, she's kind of scooting around on the back foot, picking and poking at you, and you got to do something to really wow the judges if you're going to fight that style, unless you're just completely out-voluming them. But I do think Marina Rodriguez is able to win this fight. I think that she's able to pick Lucindo apart. She's able to maintain her range, pick her shots. I can see Lucindo getting a little bit overly aggressive, trying to close down Marina Rodriguez. Rodriguez landing a good shot, as she moves forward. But I think that this fight goes to decision, and I think that Marina is the more technical fighter. I do think that Lucindo is very dangerous. She's got submissions. She has good power, and she is a finishing threat. But I think Marina Rodriguez is just a little bit cleaner, and I think that she's going to get this one done. Moving on, we have Stephen Wonderboy Thompson taking on Joaquin Buckley. This is an interesting fight to me. This is a very interesting fight because if you had asked me, a few years ago if this fight was going to happen when Buckley entered the UFC, I'd be like, well, first of all, Buckley's at 185, and he was kind of a middle-of-the-road 50-50 guy at middleweight, but ever since he's came down to 170, Buckley has been on an absolute tear, man. It seems like he is just like he's a real contender in this division. And this is no question the biggest test probably of Joaquin Buckley's career, right? I know he got KO'd by Kevin Holland at 185. That was a pretty, Holland's a pretty good opponent. But outside of that, I mean, Wonderboy is the puzzle of all puzzles. That karate stance, the way he moves, the way he throws his kicks, and the way that he's able to cut angles, Wonderboy's a puzzle. Anyone that fights Wonderboy, you're in for a hard night. He's just a very unique individual to prepare for, and I do think that Stephen Wonderboy is the cleaner, more technical fighter. The problem for me in this fight is Wonderboy's 40-some years of age. He's getting up there, and what we have seen the game plan to beat Wonderboy Thompson is what? Grappling. And I think what we saw last time out with Joaquin Buckley in St. Louis, you saw what he was able to do to a long-rangey opponent like Nursultan Rozaboev, who is not Wonderboy Thompson. I'm just saying, a long-rangey guy. We saw Buckley, shoot that the blast double leg takedown. He has decent enough grappling to where I think he can threaten it to Wonderboy. He's a big dude. He hits very hard. He's got that Mike Tyson peekaboo style. And I've said this before about Buckley, and people have given me shit for this. I believe that Joaquin Buckley is a threat at 170 pounds to a lot of guys in the division, at the top of the division, even the champion. And it's not because I'm not saying Buckley would beat a guy like Bilal Muhammad or whatever. I'm just saying Joaquin's style is he just doesn't really go in there with this strategic game plan of I'm just going to jab and leg kick, I'm going to move here, I'm going to move there, and then I'm going to mix it up. Like, Joaquin Buckley just fights. And when you find a guy that's big, he's strong, he's explosive, and he just fights and doesn't really have a game plan, that's an unpredictable guy. That's a dude that is going to do whatever it takes to win. I think Joaquin Buckley can win this fight. I really think that he can win this by decision because outside of Wonderboy landing some sort of crazy head kick, I think that Joaquin Buckley kind of just wins this thing. I think that he's able to move forward. He's going to be advancing. I think he's going to mix in the takedowns to try to wear on Wonderboy a little bit. I don't think Wonderboy has the sting in his hands, at least anymore, to be able to back up Joaquin Buckley. He's going to be a lot more of a sharpshooter because Wonderboy is very technical. But I think the overall brawling style that does have some technical side to it with Joaquin Buckley is going to be a little bit much for Wonderboy in this fight. Wonderboy's getting older, but also Buckley just looks like a different dude at 170. He's finding his groove. He's hitting his stride. I think Buckley gets this one done by decision. Maybe Wonderboy takes the first round, but as the fight progresses, I think Joaquin Buckley, the takedowns and the way he's going to mix things up will add up. Moving on. Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. I really don't know what to think with this fight, right? In terms of, it's not exactly the most entertaining matchup stylistically for Kevin Holland, but I do believe Kevin Holland can win this fight, and I am going to pick him to win. Look, Kevin Holland, He's made me look great, and he's made me look really bad when I pick him. So it's kind of like a 50-50 here. But the thing is this, that I think a lot of people are missing. Kevin Holland, when he was at middleweight, because he's back up at middleweight, he's looked absolutely spectacular in his career at 185. Like, outside of the guys that are wrestle heavy, big, strong dudes, He's won. He's won most of his fights at 185. He's faster than everybody. He's got pretty good striking. The way he rolls with shots, he uses a shoulder roll really well. He's got a laser beam right hand. He's awkward. He's rangy. He has a very unorthodox style on the feet. And in his back pocket, Kevin Holland, he has pretty good submissions. I think Kevin Holland has pretty solid submissions. And a guy like Roman Dolidze, who does have good grappling, I would still give Roman a little bit of the grappling edge here. He's got good jiu-jitsu, really good jiu-jitsu. He's got good grappling, but his takedown entries in setting up the takedowns, I don't know how troubling that is to Kevin Holland. I think Kevin is going to be a lot faster than Roman is. I think he's the much better striker than Roman. It's just going to be a question of what Kevin shows up. Is this the Kevin Holland that's going to take this serious and try to go on a run at middleweight here? I think it is. I think he's got a very favorable matchup here in terms of a guy that is not very good on the feet. I think Roman Dolidze is a sitting duck in front of Kevin Holland. Kevin's going to be be able to do whatever he wants on the feet. I think he's faster. I think he's more technical. And like I said, I know Roman took that fight on short notice against Anthony Smith. That was a horrible performance by Roman and a terrible performance by Anthony Smith as well. And then you look back at even when, Roman was in there with a fast, long, rangy guy like a Nasruddin Imavov, he was getting picked apart. And I know that Imavov is not Kevin Holland, and I'm not saying they're the same fighter. Imavov's world class at this point. But again, Roman Dolidze, not very good on the feet, slow, lethargic, sloppy. I think Kevin Holland's able to take advantage of that. I don't know if he's able to finish Roman because Roman is very durable and tough, but I think Kevin Holland can outpoint him, pick him apart, and hurt him at moments. I think Kevin Holland wins this fight. Moving on, we have Kayla Harrison and Ketlen Vieira. I'm going Kayla Harrison by complete domination. Look, Kayla Harrison, the only person or the only thing that's beating Kayla Harrison in women's MMA at this point is the scale. That is her only battle, in my opinion, is losing to the scale and the weight cut. I don't think anyone has the skill set to be able to beat Kayla Harrison in the division. I'm just being honest, because I know a lot of people are like, well, she lost in the PFL and, we've seen her vulnerable and she wins some boring decisions. But again, in the PFL, they don't even have elbows. They don't even have elbows. You're not even allowed to throw vicious ground and pound your elbows from when you're on, in mount or when you're on the ground. And how limiting is that to a dominant, strong physical force like Kayla Harrison? So now that she's in the UFC, she fought at UFC 300 against Holly Holm, who Holly Holm's kind of over the hill, but she's still Holly Holm. And we saw that Kayla Harrison absolutely dominated her. But look, Ketlen Vieira, I think it's a step up from where than Holly Holm, right? I mean, because Holly was later in her career. She's a little bit older. She's always had some issues with the takedown defense, to where Ketlen Vieira, decent on the feet, decent submissions. I think she's a pretty well-rounded fighter. But again, I don't think anyone in this division beats Kayla Harrison other than the scale and the weight cut. As long as she can make weight, as long as she, can make that happen, nobody's beating Kayla Harrison. I will not pick her to lose a fight in the UFC, period. I think that she is a specimen in terms of her skill set is outstanding. We all know about the judo skills. She's strong. She's getting better and better. Her striking looked half decent against Holly Holm, to where that is a little bit of the fear. If she cannot get the takedowns, what happens? Can Vieira, kind of piece her up? Can she threaten submissions from bottom? I think Kayla Harrison's just too damn good, man. I think that she's just a rare individual. I don't think we've really ever seen anyone like her in terms of women's MMA, especially. Kayla Harrison's a dominant force. I don't think Vieira stands a chance in this matchup. Moving on. We have Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. Come on, man. I've been telling you guys, man, back when Jose Aldo made his return against Jonathan Martinez, I had to deal with so much shit of everyone being like, come on, man, you're just being biased because Jose Aldo's an OG and you're kind of living in the past. And Jonathan Martinez, he's got these nasty leg kicks. He's got all these leg kicks. He's the next dude, man. Jonathan Martinez, have you seen the leg kick TKOs? And I'm like, dude, Jose Aldo is going to beat the shit out of Jonathan Martinez. Jose Aldo has good Muay Thai. That's what he used to be very good at back in the day, was blasting leg kicks, defending against leg kicks. He is a Muay Thai based guy. But what we've seen throughout the years of progression for Jose Aldo, he's turned pretty much into just a straight boxer. He doesn't throw a lot of kicks of his own, but what he does is defend leg kicks incredibly well. And I was like, look, he's going to take away the leg kick spamming of Jonathan Martinez, turn this into a boxing match, and there are not many guys in the bantamweight division that can stand in front of Jose Aldo and just box, right? We've seen him fight Petr Yan, that's one of the guys, maybe Sean O'Malley. There aren't many dudes that can just stand in there and straight box with Jose Aldo. Mario Bautista, as young and dangerous and hungry as he is, he's going to get taught a lesson by the teacher, man. Jose Aldo is going to be showing these young prospects, hey, man, it ain't your time. Don't mess with the King of Rio. Jose Aldo is going to beat the brakes off of Mario. He's going to beat the brakes off of him. The only way Mario wins this fight is if he's able to take Jose Aldo down and hold him. And people are like, oh, well, that Mario Bautista, this is a bad matchup for Jose. He's just going to take Jose down. Yeah, Merab Dvalishvili, look how good he's been with the grappling, taking everybody down. He could barely take Aldo down. He was basically holding him up against the fence. Aldo has outstanding takedown defense. He's been, doing boxing. He's been doing all these things. Jose Aldo is almost aging in reverse. He's got power. He's got speed. He's dangerous. I even think we see leg kick Aldo in this fight. I think he brings back some of the calf kicks. I think he absolutely butchers Mario Bautista. That might be a crazy take, but not only am I picking Aldo to win the fight, I think he makes it look easy. I think that he actually kind of embarrasses Mario Bautista. And like I said, Mario is a good prospect. He's a well-rounded fighter. We know about the grappling. He is not Merab Dvalishvili. He's not going to be able to spam 50 takedowns in 15 minutes. And if he's stuck standing in front of Jose, I think he gets picked apart. I think he gets look made silly. I think Jose Aldo wins this fight. Moving on to our co-main event of the evening between Raquel Pennington and Juliana Peña. The fight you've all been waiting to hear me talk about, man. This is the fight we've all been waiting for. I'm just kidding. I really don't know what to think for this fight. I really don't know. I've kind of been going back and forth because at first I was like, look, Raquel Pennington, I think that she's better on the feet than Juliana Peña. She's got better striking, even though it's not the prettiest. She does have better striking than Juliana. We've seen Juliana's kind of a moving heavy bag on the feet. She doesn't have good defense. She doesn't have very good striking offense. And where Juliana shines is the grappling. She's got good submissions. She has good takedowns. She has good offensive grappling. But I honestly think Raquel Pennington is the better fighter. I think that she's the better fighter, and I do think that it would be more entertaining if Juliana Peña wins this fight, because I know she's been sidelined for a while, but she's one of the few in women's MMA. She makes it entertaining. She talks shit. She goes out there. She tries to put on somewhat of a show, and she tries to build up the fights and sell them. But my issue is, look, Juliana's been away for a while. She's had some injuries. She did beat Amanda Nunes, but Nunes just gassed out. And then you saw what happened the second time around. She got the break speed off of her. I know that Raquel Pennington is not Amanda Nunes, but it seems like to me Raquel is kind of finding her groove in this division. But I'm going to go Juliana Peña. I'm going to go Juliana Peña because I want to manifest it. I want Juliana Peña to win. I want there to be some sort of energetic, thing to look forward to in WMMA. And I think Juliana Peña is that. Raquel Pennington, boring. Her last fight was atrocious. It was one of the most boring title fights in UFC history. It was a disgraceful performance. And I think Juliana Peña would be more entertaining. She'd be up there talking shit. She'd be willing to go out on her shield, which I know Raquel Pennington's a dog as well. This is going to be a gritty, dirty, sloppy-ass fight, and I think that whoever can outdog the other is going to win. I think Juliana Peña wins a dogfight in this matchup. I think that it's going to be a fight where we're like, please just end. And Juliana Peña is going to get the decision because the UFC wants her to win because she's more entertaining, and I don't think that they like Raquel Pennington. I'll go with Juliana Peña. I'm manifesting this, man. I'm hoping. Moving on. Main event of the evening, we have Alex Pereira taking on Khalil Rountree Jr. Alex Pereira will viciously KO Khalil Rountree within 3 rounds. I think I said 2 rounds at first. I'm just going to say 3. I'm going to give myself the extra 5 minutes. Look, Khalil Rountree is the Dak Prescott of the light heavyweight division. I've been saying that calling him the Dak Prescott of the UFC. I've been calling him the Dak Prescott of the light heavyweight division. And all that means is, if you watch football at all, the empty calorie stats from Dak. The Cowboys are down by 1 million. He throws for 1,000 yards in the fourth quarter, and they're like, the Cowboys lost, but look what Dak did. He threw for all these yards and all these touchdowns. What does that mean when you're losing, right? Or you're not fighting good or you're not playing good teams? That is Khalil Rountree. Rountree. Khalil Rountree, it's not necessarily his fault, the guys that he's been fighting. That's just who the UFC's been giving him. He is on a nice win streak. He's dangerous. He has good power. He's got outstanding Muay Thai technique, and he does not have to worry about probably being taken down in this fight. Unless we see some new game plan from Poatan, I don't think we see any takedowns in this fight. I think that this is going to be a straight kickboxing fight, which is absolutely dangerous if you're just going to go in there and stand in front of Poatan. Unless you're Adesanya, who's very fast and twitchy and has history with the guy to where it's kind of in Poatan's head a little bit. If you're not threatening grappling and you're just standing in front of a non-injured and non-compromised Poatan Pereira, you're getting fucking KO'd, man. You're getting KO'd. This dude is way too smart on the feet. He's got nasty calf kicks, which again, I'm going to be interesting to see how he's able to land those, because Khalil Rountree's got that Muay Thai stance. He's got a light lead leg, and I think we're going to see a lot more Muay Thai base from Khalil in this fight because he doesn't have to worry about the grappling. But I think Poatan's going to come out very boxing heavy. He's going to try to utilize the jabs, set up the left hook. He's going to utilize the right hand to try to put Khalil Rountree on notice. Rountree's very, very dangerous early on in the fight. He's very explosive. He mixes up the combinations well. He's got a laser beam left hand. He's got a big looping right hook. He's got powerful kicks. But again, Khalil Rountree, his style, Poatan has seen many, many guys fight like that throughout his entire kickboxing career. The only difference is they don't have the big gloves to kind of hide behind and shield up behind, because a lot of the Muay Thai guys, they hold their hands up. They kind of use their gloves to shield. Poatan has adapted his style to being able to throw very, very well around the guard there. I think that Khalil Rountree is going to have a very, very hard time closing down Poatan. I think Alex is just going to be setting him up from the beginning, stabbing that jab to the body, landing some of those calf kicks, throwing the kicks upstairs, and then eventually Rountree's going to get a little bit aggressive, a little bit desperate, a little reckless, to where we see Poatan land that signature left hook and get a brutal KO victory over Rountree. This feels like a layup. It should have been, Poatan versus Magomed Ankalaev, but the point is, if Ankalaev can get through Rakic, we have a massive light heavyweight title fight brewing between Ankalaev and Pereira, presuming that Poatan wins this fight. I think that this was a layup for Poatan and giving him a great stylistic matchup. A thank you from the UFC. Thank you for saving so many cards. Thank you for being active. Thank you for becoming a star in our organization. I think Poatan Pereira brutally KOs Khalil Rountree at UFC 307. But I want to hear from you all down in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you do not miss an upload. I appreciate you all. See you next time.